You got to have some sort of relationship with the owner that's comfortable. You have to trust the owner. You've got to be able to read your owner's temperament. Sometimes the owner has kids in the building. Sometimes the owner can be, like Jim Irsay in Indianapolis, a little impulsive. Sometimes, almost all the time, the owner thinks he knows more about football than he does. But there was a moment in this. So John Mara is sitting there on the table, and this is before Saquon Barkley in free agency left for the rival Eagles. And the GM is Joe Shane, a handsome young guy from Buffalo. He's got two underlings in the chairs. Watch all the body language with this and listen as Mara is just really uncomfortable with his star Saquon Barkley going to rival Philadelphia potentially.
What's the latest? Just on the Saquon thing.
I just got a text that Chicago's driving the price up and Philly's out. I don't know if that's true or not. Which I don't know if I'll make a couple of calls. I don't even know if that's gonna happen, but
I have a tough time sleeping if Saquon goes to Philadelphia. I'll tell you that. As I've told you, just being out. I've been around enough players. So, but he's the most popular player we have by far.
HBO, stream it. HBO Max Tuesday, Hard Knocks. That's really bad. Like, the owner's not happy. Joe Shane's smiling. The underlings have their head down. Like, it's really uncomfortable. And he doesn't have an answer. Well, I'm hearing that, but it may not be true. So if you're hearing it via a text, you don't trust your sources? I trust mine, and I'm just a radio guy. You're a GM. Do you think that's what it looks like with Les Snead and Stan Kroenke and Sean McVay potentially? Or Brett Veach and the Hunt family? That's Mickey Mouse. Joe Shane's smiling. The underlings are uncomfortably looking down. The owner's got his hand on his face. And Joe Shane's answer is, well, I don't really know. If Lachlan Murdoch, who owns this company, was in my morning meeting and said, I'd be really uncomfortable if you didn't talk about soccer a lot today, you know what my lead would be? Soccer. Read the room. Read the owner. Like, the bottom line is, maybe Mara created some of this stuff because he wanted to re-sign Daniel Jones, and I don't think anybody else in the world wanted to in New York. But I watch the Giants here, and there is a disconnect between owner and GM, and I'm uncomfortable watching it. You ever watch Jeopardy when there's three people on there and two are really smart and one isn't, and one's getting crushed, and you're kind of uncomfortable for the person getting crushed? Like, I'm uncomfortable watching Joe Shane there. Like, bro, you got to have answers. When billionaires walk into rooms, if I know I'm going to have a member of the Murdoch family in a room I'm in, I prep for it. Even if it's over a glass of wine and a brief 90-second conversation, I'm ready to roll. If that's what the GM owner conversations look like, well, my sources tell me, I don't know if that's true. So you don't know anything. You're the GM. You don't really know anything. And that's the owner. And it's so predictable for Joe Shane and the Giants. Saquon's going to go crush in Philadelphia. He's a great player. Howie Roseman is just working the Giants. He gets a great player, and he's going to create angst inside that Giants building all season because you know he's going to go to New York and rush for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns, and the back page of the New York Post is going to be, oh, no, Joe. But I'm sorry, watching this thing with the New York Giants, I have no confidence in this organization. None. I mean, you could see the underling. You can see the assistants in the chair. They don't want to make eye contact with anybody. Everybody's uncomfortable in that room.
Okay. So I think that's really spot on from Colin. And honestly, Colin is going to know the corporate America, the corporate ranks, and that type of energy. And atmosphere and culture more than many people will, because he's involved in media and he is interacting with just the wealthiest of all wealthiest and the most powerful people, not obviously, necessarily on a regular basis, but he's in those rooms, right? More so than I am and other people. But I really think that what he's saying is really spot on. And one of the things that I gather when I'm watching that is that the GM, the owner's in the room, and the owner, he can sit and on a table, right, like on the side. He's the owner, he can do whatever the heck he wants. It's just a different energy. But the fact that you see the Giants GM leaning back in a chair with his hands in his pockets and smiling, that body language and energy, oh my God, I like cringe when I see that, because I know how bad that is. I mean, it's just not what you do. When the owner comes in the room, when the big boss comes in the room, you sit up straight. You put your hands up, not in your pockets and smiling and leaning back. Yeah, what's up? Like, you're like, yes. Like, it's just a different energy that you bring to it. I mean, imagine if I was even just doing this right here with you guys, right? I talk, sometimes I got to lean a little bit down just because of the camera. But, like, imagine if I was just talking like this to y'all. Yo, isn't that crazy? Oh, man, Saquon Barkley. Dude, the Eagles are going to be good this season. You guys wouldn't take me as seriously. You would be like, what is this guy doing right now? It's just base level of respect. But when you see these young hotshot guys, they do think they're larger than life. They think they're better than the owners. They think they're better than everyone, quite honestly, because they've had a ton of success. They've made a ton of money. It is like the stereotypical finance bros. Even those finance bros, they think that they're better than the billionaires who have the more money and the more power, because they see it as themselves that they're the ones that are making the money for the billionaires. They look at those billionaires and say, Psh, I'm the one that makes you all the money. Like that's what I do. It's this very cocky attitude. I think you can kind of see this highlighted more than anything in The Big Short and also The Wolf of Wall Street. Obviously, those are kind of like cartoonish versions of it, but it's of that ilk. If anyone has ever really interacted with many finance people or very successful younger people in the more corporate world, which I've had the unfortunate benefit of experiencing, not like working professionally, but in terms of interacting with some of these people in various situations, it's just like, you're just like, whoa, you are a different person entirely. Like, and it wasn't until I actually realized what was happening where I was just like, this is a weird interaction. And it's like, then it's not until afterwards I'm like, who is that guy? And they're like, oh yeah, he works on Wall Street, and that's just how they are. And you're just like, oh, like, why are they like that? And it's like, well, because they make a ton of money, they work really hard, and they think they're smarter than everyone else. They literally think they're the smartest people in the room. And that's what the GM is doing there. And it's just like, it is weird. It's weird energy. It's bad business, as a whole. So whether you want to argue that it was like right or wrong for the Eagle, for Saquon to go to the Eagles or whatever, like, it's just, if you're a Giants fan, I don't know how you watch that and feel good about anything. Like, it's funny because I can see a lot of Giants fans like, oh, you're overreacting or this or that. Saquon's, always injured and this or that. Like, no, Mara understands. And he's the one that's owned the Giants and knows how good the Eagles are. You can't lie to him. You can't lie to someone like that. The Eagles have been, without a doubt, for the last 20 or so years, have been, without a doubt, the most successful team, the most consistently high-level team in that division. No question about it. They have the most playoff wins, Super Bowl, multiple Super Bowl appearances. It's not a question. It's not up for debate. Marin understands that. He's not dumb. He understands that because he wants it to be him. He wants it to be him. He wants the Giants to be better and have that levels of success. So that's why he's kind of like sick to his stomach, knowing that if that Saquon Barkley goes to the Eagles, they're going to be that much better. They're going to be that much more popular, right? Like, and he knows that the Giants fan base is also not going to like that as well. So, and again, sometimes, owners can meddle in the wrong way, which kind of Colin highlighted. But in this instance, like, he's just spot on, 100% correct, right? Like, Saquon Barkley was the New York Giants, and now he's going to the Eagles. And the Eagles, it's one thing if the Eagles were just like not that good of a team. Right? It's one thing if they went to like the Commanders or something. That would be an easier pill to swallow. But no, we went to the Eagles, the team that has the most playoff wins in the last 20 or so years in that entire division. Multiple Super Bowl appearances, a Super Bowl win. You know, it's just like that's a tough pill to swallow because you know that team is going to be great and difficult to beat, at least even just for a division, at least at a minimum for the next 2-3 years. And unless moving on from Saquon actually now puts you in a position to set your own run up to actually take a gigantic step forward, like maybe the Commanders are doing right now, you're just like, we're getting worse and the other teams are getting better. We need to start competing for a division at the very minimum. We have to compete for a divisional title at the minimum within the next couple of years. What are we doing here? And if you're not, then it really is like, what are we doing here? Because even that is like, I mean, think about it. The Giants are just hopeful that they win a division, while the Eagles are like, no, we want to win a Super Bowl. Like we're not happy with anything less than a Super Bowl win at this point, because that's what our expectations are. That's what our standard is. And again, Mara understands that. He knows that. He's not dumb. You just can't lie to that. He's not like an oblivious old owner who doesn't really have his finger on the pulse. Like, he understands. He is competent in that regard. So he's not blinded. And that's why he said the quiet part out loud. He was just like literally like, I will not be comfortable with this. And then the GM's just kind of like laughing about it, leaning back in his chair, hands in his pockets. Like, it's just like looking at his phone. It's just like, that's weird, man. That is weird. That is not, I just do not see the Giants going in any positive direction. I think the Commanders leapfrogged them. I think the Cowboys have always been better than them. The Eagles have always been better than them. And you know, again, obviously I know the Giants within the last, what is it, I guess technically like 20 or so years, they won a couple Super Bowls with Eli Manning. Those were great. Those were kind of fluky in a lot of ways, beating the GOAT Tom Brady. Even if you're the biggest Giants fan, I know you probably, you know, wear those Super Bowls with pride, understandably so. But the Giants have not been a consistent organization. They just haven't. Year after year after year, no one is consistently saying, I think the Giants have a chance to like get to the Super Bowl or win the Super Bowl. They're not saying that. They are even saying that about the Cowboys, even though the Cowboys haven't even made it to an NFC Championship game in like 30 years. But they are definitely always saying that about the Eagles. Again, it's indisputable, right? It can't be argued. So I just think that, again, like if you're New York City, you're the Giants, like you have to have a higher standard. You should theoretically be the most popular team in the East and the best team in the East year after year after year. You should be more popular than the Dallas Cowboys. You should be more popular and more successful than the Philadelphia Eagles. It should be easier for you to retain talent for New York City over little old Philadelphia. But they can't do it. And that speaks volumes. That speaks massive, massive volumes that they can't do it. That they don't have the lore, that they don't have that atmosphere, that culture, that people when they play for New York, they kind of like can't wait to get out. And you can't just blame the media. Well, it's because it's a tough media and tough environment. It's brutal in Philly. It's brutal in Baltimore. It's brutal in New England. It's brutal in all of these cold Eastern, East Coast cities. But New York is massive. For those of you who haven't been to New York, I don't mean to insult you. I know it's a major city, but depending on where you are, like New York is just a massive, larger than life, living and breathing city. And the fact, I mean, like you're in awe when you get there, because even if you've been to big cities like a Philly or like LA or wherever, it's not New York City. I mean, New York City is just like, you can get on a subway, ride it for like 45 minutes, and if you should be like, I should be like in a different country now, you get out and you're still like in the massive city. You're just like, I don't even understand how that's even possible. How did I just take a 45-minute subway train ride and I'm still like surrounded by massive skyscrapers? It doesn't make sense. It's just this massive, intense, passionate city. The fact that players aren't dying to play there, or even like taking even, dare I say, like a pay cut to play there, to continue to play there, to win, that speaks volumes about just how poorly run the Giants are right now, and just how they are not going in a positive direction at all. So interesting stuff. And it's been bad business for them to be on Hard Knocks because it's just been clip after clip after clip of just, I wish I didn't see that. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Do you think it was good that the Eagles were able to actually re-sign Saquon, and about the owner trying to warn the GM to not allow that to happen? How do you guys make sense of all that? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.